Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bhaskar from Free Press Journal, and we have a galaxy of panelists today. And each one of them brings with him a wealth of information, a wealth of experience, a wealth of knowledge that'll enlighten us tremendously. Our Free Press Journal got into this mode because of several reasons. The first, of course, being the pandemic, which made webinars inevitable. The second main reason is that we know that by the time the pandemic is over, almost 30%, 33% of the jobs will not exist. And these students and these businessmen who are there today will suddenly find the world a dramatically changed place. Even banking will change possibly. So given these circumstances, the only way we could expose both business as well as students was to have webinars week after week, exposing them to a multitude of concepts, multitude of people, opportunities. So if your inclinations and the opportunities match, you can do business, you can study, you can plan your career. And that is why we've been doing this almost as an article of faith. And the third reason, of course, was to tie up with an academic institution. And for me, SIES was very dear to me because I graduated from the college. I've been teaching there besides at various other institutes. And so that was an automatic choice. And that's how SIES is here. And Dr. Vanitha Rane consented to participate with us. I will not introduce you. That's Dr. Vanitha Rane's job. She will introduce the panelists. And then we begin with the ambassador's address. Dr. Vanitha Rane.
Thank you so much, sir. Very good afternoon to all the attendees and welcome to all the panelists. Today we are here to continue with our episodic series of 8 countries where the focus here will be on Qatar. We are quite privileged to see the panelists amongst us today. Therefore, myself, Dr. Vanitha Rane, on behalf of SIES College of Arts, Science and Commerce and Department of Mass Media, welcome all of you all. And to begin with, I would also like to introduce you in this webinar series of special panel discussion on Financing India, where we have Dr. R. Seetharaman, CEO Doha Bank, Chartered Accountant, and the recipient of multiple doctorates, Washington College in 2012, and European University in 2013. My goodness, sir also is a recipient from Sri Sri University and honor of doctoral fellowship from Sri Sharda Institute of Indian Management. Also in 2017, he was awarded by the Government of India with the Pravasi Bharatiya Samman. There are various awards and accolades in his share and kitty. There were various other awards for promoting green economies as well. He's also been selected as the best CEO among Middle East banks for 4 times in the last 12 years. We also have Gopal Subramaniam ji. He's a resident of Doha for the last 27 years. Sir is a chartered accountant by profession and is a senior partner with KPMG in Qatar. He heads their audit services and he was heading the oil and gas practice for KPMG in Middle East and South Asia, covering 15 countries for the last 10 years. It's too big, in fact. Also, sir is partner and head of audit with KPMG in Qatar. Also to mention here in this case, sir, he joined as KPMG-Qatar as the 8th employee in 1994, and he's proud to be an integral part of their successful journey in this country in the last 2.5 decades, and in the firm currently who boost upon more than 350 employees, including 10 partners. Welcome you, sir. On the other hand, we also have Dr. Deepak Mittal, Indian ambassador to Qatar. He has joined the Indian Foreign Services in 1998. He served in Bangladesh, Egypt, and Israel in various capacities as a Consul General in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Please excuse if I'm not pronounced properly. He has also served in the Prime Minister's office from 2014 to 2016. He also has taken a charge as Ambassador of India to the state of Qatar on 6th of August 2020. He speaks Arabic, English, Hindi, and Punjabi languages. I think we are going to have some multilingual tasks also today. We again welcome all the panelists and also the moderator for the session, R.N. Bhaskar ji, who is an educator, researcher, journalist, and at the same time, author. Sir, we would like you to take over the session from here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Rane. As I mentioned, we'd like to begin with the ambassador because two reasons. One, as an ambassador, he has a bird's eye view of relations between India and Qatar. And second, given his background, he sees a lot more than most people think he sees. Sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vanita, for your kind words and introduction. It's a pleasure to join today with this illustrious colleague, Dr. Seetharaman, Mr. Gopal, and Mr. Bhaskar for this webinar, which is on a very, very nice initiative by Free Press Journal to link countries, look at it, focus, and see the opportunities. It's a pleasure to join you. As Mr. Bhaskar said, and maybe I can have a bird's eye view, but that's also easy task for me. Then I'm sure we'll get more insights from Dr. Seetharaman and Mr. Gopal, which will benefit all the participants too. If I may say, my focus would be just to give you maybe lay the ground where we are, as it goes India and Qatar. As everybody knows, India-Qatar relations are historic, deep-rooted. We are going to say commemorate the 50th anniversary of establishment of what we call diplomatic relations, formal relations in 2023, in a 2 years' time. But our relationship are much older. It's something which we have enjoyed a very strong foundation of trade. The maritime connect, which did exist out there, whether it was pearl trading out there, and as Dr. Seetharaman once mentioned to me, how the rupee was also a legal tender here in Qatar, the Indian rupee, which kind of did exist. So just to say that, and with over 700,000 Indians making Qatar their home, staying here, forms a very strong backbone of a very strong partnership between India and Qatar. In recent times, this relationship has seen a lot of strength, commitment from the leadership from both the countries. If I recall, say the visit of His Highness the Amir to India in 2015, that of our Honorable Prime Minister to Qatar in 2016, the visit of the Prime Minister of Qatar to India in 2016 itself, and then constant engagement, which in these times have provided the momentum and the vision of the top of the leadership. And I must also recall that recently after my arrival here in August, when I had the opportunity to call on His Highness the Amir, and his focus, a very clear vision about where he sees our partnership, bilateral partnership, and what is very relevant to the theme of today's webinar, the financing part, is his thought about how he sees a very strong vision in India about investment, creating proper environment, investments, and how he sees Qatar as a partner in that, and would like to see and give more impetus in that regard. Talking about finance and trade, we cannot ignore the volumes, the figures. If I look at it, is we have a strong trading relationship with bilateral trade crossing over $11 billion. Yes, it is skewed at the currently with the largely energy forming the major, dominating the whole bilateral trade. But the efforts are to how and look at diversifying this basket out there. We have been some success. We have seen some success to look at it, and if I may say, the recent I see a lot of synergy and complementarity in terms of the vision which exists in both India and Qatar. When we talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, and here in Qatar, we talk about self-reliant or self-sustaining Qatar. So I see a lot of synergy and complementarity, because the focus is in terms of developing those strong value chains, reliable value chains to be partnering in this effort. Energy, I think, though it is a kind of a lifeline in bilateral trade, it remains strong. Energy partnership and effort on both sides is to how to give a comprehensive shape. I said diversification, and also how to make it more comprehensive too. No doubt on the investment sides, there is a lot which needs to be done too. There is exposure, as I understand, is from the Qatar side to the Indian market is limited. It is increasing, and I think that's where I'm sure today's webinar would be able to bring out some more possibilities and potential for where both sides can cooperate. As it's not just a kind of, I don't look at it as a one-way street. I look at it as a win-win proposition, how to create build those synergies and partnership in the financing investment side too. As Dr. Seetharaman was just mentioning, today we saw a great slew of measures which have been announced by the Honorable Finance Minister of India, and a lot of focus on various sectors. 12 big proposals that have been given. Some, I think the media in India has also described as kind of a Diwali bonus on the out there being announced. But at the same time, if you look at it, it's quite comprehensive. The sectors which are involved, and it is very relevant to be able to reflect upon it also would be useful in this webinar, whether it is in terms of the kind of banking or investment, etc. In terms of while doing so, having a vision to enhance and realize the potential, I think it's important to also look at what the institutional mechanism that do exist. We have Dr. Seetharaman here today with us, and we know Doha Bank does provide that institutional link with having 3 branches in India. Qatar National Bank also having opened its branch in India. So if it talks about the vehicles, the instrument, the channels of such trade and investment partnership has been created in the last couple of years and strengthened. They are growing strength to strength out there. As also always say is connectivity, establishment of direct shipping lines, which has come in between India and Qatar, also has strengthened. Though we do always had energy, but then now with other shipping lines, it does helps to diversify and look at what can be done, provides more opportunities. You also look at it, also if I say, while we can always talk about and reflect upon all the opportunities which exist in India, especially the measures which are there taken in India, whether it is in terms of ease of doing business, how India has improved in its rankings over the years, which has made ease of doing business much easy. The recent slew of reforms which were taken, including in the amendments in the Finance Acts, which would allow long-term investments by the sovereign wealth funds, especially in the priority infrastructure projects. The pipeline, the infrastructure pipeline which has been set up and put out creates a slew of opportunities. The incentives given for exemptions for dividends, returns, taking away your returns, capital gains, repatriation, which has been extended to sovereign wealth fund and also pension funds. This also opens up opportunities when it comes to financing investments relationship between India and Qatar. Of course, there is if traditionally, if you look at it, say from Qatar, you have is a Qatar Investment Authority, the sovereign wealth fund. Some estimates are that it looks at and manages over $300 billion worth of sovereign wealth funds to look at and globally. It has its own set of priorities too when it comes. And if I look at it over the past year, it has looked at India very, very strongly in a focused manner. It has looked at making inroads into technology when it and education sector when it participated, took up participation in the Byju's, the online education platform, as also into Adani Electric Power Company in Mumbai. So these are good, if I may say, beginnings which have been exposures which it has. Of course, in the past also it has participated in sectors like Airtel, Telecom, and others. At the same time, it's looking for more. You know, my interactions here have shown a lot of interest, including in the healthcare, capital market, the technology, pharmaceutical. There is a lot of interest at the same time to look at projects which are mature. You know, again, there's less of interest in, say, greenfield or brownfield, but more mature kind of a thing, which is important. And always, as my interaction with Dr. Seetharaman, he always mentions that once we have to do it, we should be important for us to be able to do number crunching. Important to be able to understand where rather than talking in a larger, broad framework, but also to be able to go deep into the numbers, so that it's able to show how it is a win-win proposition, and very clear exit measures should also be available for potential financing opportunities. I think these are the measures which Government of India is cognizant of, and is taking measures, policy framework changes in that regard. At the same time, I think there is as I said, it has a win-win proposition, is to also look at what Qatar itself is focusing. You know, a lot of focus is on diversification, which again is in terms of its economy, to not just be just an economy based upon energy, but to also develop other sectors. You know, we have seen FMCG or the food and food sector, where they have, in terms of their food energy, long-term vision, which they have, strategic vision, their own focus on sports. You know, of course, there's a lot of, we talk about FIFA 2022, which is going to be hosted here in Qatar, as also their bid for Asia 2030, which again, it's a part of, if I look at it as a sports economy in a certain sense, which itself comes with infrastructure, with associated related IT, hospitality, and many other sectors and opportunities which it opens up. Then the Qatar zone focus again on getting some manufacturing, more manufacturing. You know, you open up first time in recent years Qatar Free Zone Authority out here, and to look at it, how to invite. And another strand is Qatar Financial Center. Yesterday you have discussion on how Qatar can be also hub for financing and leasing of aircrafts globally, out there. And I think there is kind of a synergy which can be developed between Qatar Financial Center and what we in India have in the GIFT Center and the recently created IFSCA, International Financial Service Center Authority within the GIFT in Gujarat, the GIFT city in Gujarat. I think it's more of a, if I may say, a regulatory kind of an environment between two regulators, big regulators on both sides, which can create more financing and investment opportunities on both sides. Well, these are some of my thoughts. Even in the oil and gas, as Mr. Gopal, who has been working in this sector for a long time, has been very nicely explaining to the Indian businesses here also, is how diversification is happening. Even when we talk about digitalization of oil and gas sector out there. That's a kind of a focus which happens. For us in India, we are also going for a very big energy boost, which is a mix we are creating of traditional, conventional transition and then renewables as part of our sustainable development goals, aims. There also I see India and Qatar remaining a very strong partner out there. And our effort is to build those synergies in a more comprehensive and a complete value chain kind of a partnership between India and Qatar. Because India does pose that important platform, if I say, because as a hub, regional hub out there, because we do work with, India itself is expanding. We are expanding our own network of gas-based pipelines, floating terminals, the regasification terminals, the requisite infrastructure associated with this kind of a natural gas being available, utilized, as also how the landlocked countries we are working with, our neighbors too, where India can be hub to even reach out to, say, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, that way. And if I look at it in a regional sense, where we are partnering, in terms of cross-border trade out there. So the opportunities are immense. For me, it's a very early days and weeks here in Qatar. And certainly, I think this platform today provides a very excellent opportunity for us to be able to connect with participants and viewers from India and Qatar, and to be able to build upon the strong foundations that do exist, whether it's a political part, trading, and the potential financing investment streams in entire value chains out there. And one last sector which I would like to focus is also on the healthcare kind of a thing, where the recent pandemic has brought in this sector into a lot of focus, and how it's important to, when I spoke about value chains, how do we connect those value chains in different parts, the investments that we need to put into this kind of an healthcare sectors, including a traditional system of medicines, which help us in terms of prevention, the therapeutics, and also the focus area of COVID vaccine production, which is a very important. And as you mentioned, the Pfizer announcement, and in India, we know we are working on many such candidates and our own clinical research. And as our Prime Minister has said that India would like to make available, India has proven to be the pharmacy of the world during past few months, and we would also like in the coming period to make available our production capacity for the entire global humanity as far as vaccine is concerned, so that it is available in an affordable and mass scale and quickly, so that we all can come back and to be our normal lives, as we were just discussing just before the inauguration of the webinar. We are, of course, this challenging time has given us opportunity to focus on technology, to be connected virtually, but also try to have ease of living, especially for all our populations. But those are my thoughts. I thought, thank you very much once again for being available and listening to me.
Thanks. We'll come back to you again when the interactions begin. Could I request Gopal Subramaniam to make his opening remarks? You're on mute, I think. I can't hear you. Gopal, I can't hear you.
Gopal Subramaniam ji. And
no, I already clicked it. Now it's okay?
Okay, now you're okay. Yes.
Audible.
Yeah.
Great.
Respected dignitaries from Free Press Journal and SIES College, for the co-host of this webinar. My co-panelist, His Excellency Dr. Deepak Mittal, the Indian ambassador to Qatar, and Dr. R. Seetharaman, the Group CEO of Doha Bank. And my dear audience from India, Qatar, and other parts of the world who have joined this event through YouTube or Facebook. Very good evening or very good morning to you all, depending on which time zone you're on. It's indeed my honor and privilege to be a co-panelist with two distinguished and iconic personalities from Qatar for this interesting webinar on financing India, with Qatar as the focus today. It's very difficult to speak after such a prolific speaker, a diplomat, experienced diplomat who has covered almost all parts of what we need to discuss, but still I will try my best. Financing India is a very interesting and important discussion topic nowadays. With Atmanirbhar, the self-reliant or self-sufficient India flagship program launched by Government of India during 2020. Through this program, opportunities are available in India for different countries of the world. I understand that production-linked incentive scheme worth $40 billion has been introduced through Atmanirbhar with an aim to mobilize investments from within India and also from outside India for promoting domestic manufacturing in India. I'm sure that countries like Qatar could also benefit from the opportunities which are available in the sectors of its interest. As Dr. Vanitha introduced, I've been here for 27 long years, and having been associated with most of the Qatar Inc. companies, I consider myself as one of the ambassadors of this wonderful country. Not a diplomatic one, though, who is with us as a co-panelist today. But based on this experience of a long number of years, I would like to first cover in my keynote speech as to what are some of the most important economic indicators of Qatar and its success story in the last 25 years, mainly derived from the hydrocarbon sector, which is the backbone of the economy. Then I'll talk about how Qatar has deployed its cash wisely in investments through Qatar Investment Authority, which is the country's sovereign wealth fund, and finally touch base on the areas and sectors in India where, in my view, Qatar could explore for investments and take advantage of the opportunities available in India. Friends, most of you would be aware that Qatar is one of the most richest countries in the world with a high per capita income. It's a star economy in the Middle East region with a GDP of $183 billion in 2019, with a consistent and an enviable growth rate year on year. It has a population of 2.8 million as per 2020 census, and in that Qatari population is only 320,000, which is about 11.5%. Qatar is one of the most diverse countries with 87 nationalities in total residing in Qatar, Indians being the highest with close to 700,000 residents, which is 25% of the total population. 60% of the GDP and 80% of its revenue is from oil and gas. Qatar ranks, most of you will be aware that Qatar ranks third in the world for natural gas reserves after Russia and Iran, and ranks 15 in the crude oil reserves. 900 trillion cubic feet of natural gas reserves in the North Field alone, which is the biggest single point gas reserve in the world. In Russia and Iran, the gas deposits are more scattered, and hence Qatar was able to monetize its gas reserves better and started on its LNG journey from the early 1990s. Qatar continuously invested on gas exploration and liquefaction of gas into LNG and reached a production capacity of 77 million tons by 2007. It declared a moratorium in 2005, a self-imposed ban on further exploration and development of North Field. But after 12 years, it lifted its moratorium in 2017. By the end of 2019, Qatar exited from OPEC after 60 years of membership in this forum, just to concentrate more on increasing its global presence in natural gas sector. Qatar is investing in increasing the LNG capacity by another 50 million tons, which they will achieve by 2027. This is a significant decision, as Qatar believes that LNG has a part to play in the global energy space, at least for the foreseeable future. Low cost of production of LNG per MMBTU, sale of 85% of LNG through long-term sale and purchase agreements, early to get into LNG capacity building, spreading of risk amongst different oil super majors as shareholders in different LNG ventures, investing in the entire value chain like LNG tankers through Nakilat, and investments in regasification terminals in US, UK, and Italy. But these are some of the reasons for this LNG success story of Qatar, which actually translated into the success story of the whole country. Qatar Petroleum, the national oil company, apart from monetization of its gas reserves through LNG production and exports, it had invested in gas to liquids plants through Sasol and Shell, invested in a series of petro downstream industries producing different types of products: polyethylene, MTB, methanol, fertilizers, there's aluminum bars, steel bars. So the list goes on. QP in the last 18 years or so has made 5 divestments in hydrocarbon sector to offer the fruits of its wise investments to its nationals. Also, in the last 7 years, whenever the production sharing contract expired, QP has changed the operating model through setting up a joint venture or by taking over the field operation itself, like in the case of Eid al-Sharqi, North Dome and South Dome, operated by Occidental Petroleum. In 2018, QP took the operation of the field on its own. It has also done investments in US, UK, Italy, Brazil, China, Singapore, Argentina, Mexico, Morocco, and other African countries as well in upstream or downstream oil and gas. So with all these initiatives in the last 2 decades or so, Qatar Petroleum is a classic example for a national oil company becoming an international oil company. Whatever growth in Qatar's economy in the last quarter of a century, in my view, is mainly due to the visionary leadership of the country's leaders and wise investments at the right time with the right partners in right products in hydrocarbon sector. Having talked about the key economic indicators and the success story of Qatar for the last 2 decades, I'll share now as to what Qatar is doing with its excess cash generated from its monetization of hydrocarbon reserves. Qatar Investment Authority, QIA, His Excellency talked about it. It was founded in 2005 to strengthen the country's economy by diversifying its investments and to realize Qatar National Vision of 2030. The 4 central pillars of Qatar National Vision are economic, social, human, and environmental. QIA plays a significant role in Qatar's journey towards its Vision 2030. The last 15 years, it has managed to grow its portfolio to $335 billion. It's one of the, I would say, performing sovereign wealth funds, best performing sovereign wealth funds in the world. Some of its investments include, property investments in UK. Then you had Heathrow Airport, investment in Heathrow Airport, Volkswagen, Glencore in, Switzerland, Barclays Bank, Sainsbury. You had Credit Suisse Bank. Then they invested in Rosneft, which is the Russian oil major. They also have a stake in Shell. So the list goes on. So they really have an enviable portfolio of assets. And as I said, it's one of the best performing sovereign wealth funds. As far as India is concerned, Excellency talked about the recent traction, especially as 2019 and 20 has been good year for India as far as getting the attention from QIA. 19, they invested $150 million on Beijus with the Indian learning app, and the early 2020 Adani Electricity. But prior to that, it has been sluggish. They had invested on Bush Foods. The investment didn't go well. Then they had invested on RMZ, the Bangalore real estate developer. But the developer bought back QIA's stakes by 2018. But the latest news is that, which is interesting, QIA is planning to invest $1.5 billion in geofiber assets with Reliance. The talks are still going on. Hope that can come through. In the India Energy Forum held last month, His Excellency, the Energy Minister of Qatar, Saad Al-Kabi, had participated and applauded the energy policy reforms of the government. Again, Excellency talked about it. There are a lot of reforms which are happening, and Excellency Saad Al-Kabi really commended the efforts of the government in terms of continuous growth in investments in gas infrastructure. That's something India has been religiously doing. And now with an aim to convert India into a gas-based economy, targeting a 50% share in country's energy mix. India's gas consumption, especially in the next 15 years or 20 years, is going to double, or even 2.5 times it will go by 2040. 120 to 150 billion dollars of investments is expected in the next 5 to 7 years, and 300 billion in the next 2 decades in gas sector alone. Series of reforms under the hydrocarbon exploration licensing policy, which is the new policy called HELP. It used to be NELP before, and these policy measures have resulted in large acreage being awarded for exploration and production of oil and gas through various rounds of bids. There are opportunities in the refining domain as well, where in terms of refining capacity, India is already 4th largest in the world after US, China, and Russia, and it is expected to increase the capacity by further 75% by 2030. India is expecting an investment of $55 billion by 2030 in refining business alone. But hydrocarbon sector is not the only opportunity available in India for Qatar. Through Atmanirbhar program, the government of India seeks investment to manufacture for global consumption. It's not just for India's consumption. They want to really reach out to different countries from the manufacturing facilities in India. 4 key sectors have been identified: pharmaceuticals, automobiles, chemicals, and consumer electronics. It's nearly close to $470 billion is targeted as investments under this Atmanirbhar program. There are 24 key subsectors under these 4 key subsectors, like manufacturing of electrical vehicle components, auto components, air conditioners, medical devices, drones, textiles, leathers, and list goes on. For 24 sectors, it can go up to 50 sectors once the traction improves. Qatar is importing all these goods, and there is definitely an opportunity for Qatar to look into a strategic alliance partner and invest in these sectors under this Atmanirbhar program and stand to benefit. It has never been as easy as now for tapping into this huge potential available in India for countries like Qatar, which believes in sustainable long-term investments with value creation. I'm sure it will be a win-win formula for Qatar and India. With that note, I'd like to conclude, and I would like to hand it over back to Mr. Bhaskar, the moderator of the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In fact, the more I listen to both the ambassador and to Gopal Subramaniam, I think India should be paying more attention to Qatar than it has till now. We'll come to that later, but we want the banker in this business, Dr. Seetharaman, to give his views.
Your Excellency, the Indian Ambassador, Dr. Deepak Mittal, my dear fellow chartered accountant partner, KPMG, Mr. Gopal Subramaniam, Mr. R. Bhaskar, Dr. Vanita, honored guest, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear students. It's my pleasure and privilege to be an integral part of this interesting session. You heard India from Dr. Deepak, and again, an extraordinary and prolific sum of Qatar's eminence in hydrocarbon and the overall concerted vision Gopal has enlightened us. I think my job is to connect these two and see what are the possibilities.
Excellent.
For a minute, let's look at a global perspective. It's important that we look at Indian meritocracy in global context. And then how do we get the financing done? In substance, the challenge what we are witnessing today in terms of pandemic is catastrophic. We have already got over 10.8 million people impacted. 1.3 million people is no more. India itself, as Mr. Bhaskar, you mentioned, the mortality rate is bare minimum in percentage terms. We lost 128,000 people. We have still challenges on. The economic, social, the remedial management, which we are all doing, and the post-pandemic, which we are all visualizing, has been an interesting opportunity for India. Let me tell you the reason why this has turned out to be a bigger opportunity for a country of great substance like India. Last year, if you look at the global investment, it was 246 billion was inward investments in US, and China was nearly 141 mainland, and again, Hong Kong was around 91 billion. And within the top 10 countries, India is the 10th one, bagged around 51 billion. This year alone, April to August, September, we mobilized nearly $37 billion. The reason is very simple. India is a country of great opportunity, which globally, I'm operating in 20 countries, right, from Japan to Toronto. I'm constructively seeing the positive momentum and the brand equity India has enabled, the decisive government, the demographic dividend we have over 440 million people, less than 35, and again, younger population, middle class population is around 550 million people, 110 million of new housing prospects, 100 smart cities, 126 airports, 5 trillion e-commerce market, leave alone the projection of 2025, we have to, that is a distant possibility as we see it now. We need to change the goalpost in terms of GDP, but enormous amount of design setting is there for the world at large to recognize, and world is recognizing this. And the kind of policy framework India has pronounced on the brand equity India has built over the last 6-7 years has been exemplary. Look at the market liberalization. Every single sector, Gopal has mentioned, I don't want to repeat some of the key elements of it. It's a bigger opportunity in today's context. And with the post-pandemic, it's going to be even much more visual now for us to interpret India is in a greater advantage. Leave alone, you look at the global productivity today. This year is a contraction, 5.9%. Next year is 4.4% growth. That's what IMF dictum says. Advanced economies are grossly underperforming this year, to the tune of almost 6% now in aggregate terms, and possibly they may move around 3.3%. India, with a contraction of 10.8%, next year it is going to be 8.8%. If you extrapolate further, our productivity this year is confined to around 2.582 trillion. Next year it is 2.8 trillion, perhaps. It's in the ascending trend for n number of years in the normal situation. This is new normal, which we have to go through it. Our economic fundamentals, if you carefully interpret, globally, any economist will agree, the forex reserves we built in as on date around 560 billion is very strong. That's a great supplement energy for us in case of a fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit itself is measured and managed extremely well. The gross debt to GDP has been managed very well. So if you look at the fiscal consolidation next year, it's not deficit. It's not going to be more than 3.5%. As the ambassadors mentioned, comparative offerings in terms of business is going to be 43rd in terms of ranking. We are moving up in the value chain. That's what we need to recognize. Leave alone this interruption, major disruption. This is normal for everyone in an abnormal situation. The challenges which we have administered, both the fiscal side as well as the monetary policy, has been prolific. The percentage of fiscal outlay which they earmarked in the earlier Atmanirbhar program, 10% of GDP, is quite meaningful. And today's announcement again is a value addition for us to stimulate and achieve the semblance of recovery which we are seeing of late. Leave alone one exception, the second quarter, which we have to have a big nosedive. Now, there is a possibility in building the finance. Now, as an institution, I've been operating since 2003, 2004 onwards. I have given multi-billions to financial institutions when I didn't have a license. When it comes to retail, I used the Indian banks to be my counterpart, and I housed them here. And I managed to support individuals as well as institutions, for Indian corporates as well as individual institutions here as well as in India through Axis Bank. In the last 5 years, my experience has been exemplary. It's very good. I don't have bad books. Gopal is my signing auditor from KPMG. I had one incident where I lost money. In percentage term, it's not even a 2% NPL. If you look at the opportunities, there's a huge goal congruence between the Gulf. I want to link the Gulf. The setting up a possible GCC Gulf Development Bank. When the ambassador was here on August 12th, when I first met him, I gave this value proposition. The balance of payments, as His Excellency has mentioned, is all tilting towards the Gulf states. Now, That's on account of energy security India needs. India is importing oil, gas, and petrochemicals from the Gulf. And Qatar itself is 11 to 12 billion. If we can set up, for example, $500 billion, 500 billion capital, paid up capital, a bank, GCC, Gulf India Development Bank, like we have BRIC Bank. That's an opportunity. Convert the debt into equity, and 500 billion is the paid up capital. Take 100 billion as the paid up out of 500 authorized rather. Then, based on the net payables, for example, bilateral terms, if you look at 35 billion is tilting towards UAE or Saudi. So 35 billion let Saudi contributes, 35 billion UAE contributes, 15 billion Qatar contributes, 15 billion Kuwait, arguably. That's an opportunity. We need trillions of dollars. The kind of opportunity India gives for global investors, global prospects, if you look at it, they're sitting on huge liquidity piles. They need destinations. That's why it's all tilting towards fixed income securities in one direction. Today, the financial markets are gambling grounds. That's on account of the uncertainty. But here is a country which has got a foreseeable prediction in terms of economic indications, which is going to be huge in terms of sustainable value creation, and definite possibility to set up this GCC Development Bank and channelize, which we need multi-trillion. We need multi-trillion to invest in the priority sectors with an exit strategy. Ambassador has already mentioned this. If you put this money into India with a clear return, it is an opportunity.
Yes.
It's a huge opportunity, and Gulf can afford to do that. We are talking about 6.6 trillion global sovereign funds, 2.2 trillion lies in the Gulf. Qatar itself is managing nearly $300 billion worth of sovereign funds, which he mentioned, the full history he has mentioned. Sovereign, multiple sectors, multiple countries they have invested, whether it is UK, whether it is Germany, whether it is automobile, whether it is banks. You have seen Qatar diversification as a structured solution has done. Qatar is going to grow. Investable surplus is going to come. We are going to generate nearly 6 million barrels of oil by 2027. That's why he said it's going to be scaled up from 77 to 127 million metric ton. The investable surplus needs to be consumed. The diversification and distribution strategy Qatar has embarked, and the kind of forward contracts which Qatar is signing today will definitely give a value advantage in terms of investable surplus. This surplus can be invested in India. The proximity, the human capital India has invested in the Gulf is an opportunity for us to take it. Number two, another value proposition we also have to, with my experience with individuals, there are Indians who are doing huge business. We invested a lot of money in them. They are doing business here. They are doing business in India. They are a great success story in the Gulf. There are one or two failures. That's a part. They have showcased enormous amount of resilience and sustainable value creations between these two blocks. Institutions also, Shapoorji or Voltas or Tatas, or Punch Lloyd, they have value creations over the period of time in terms of trade or contract. There are huge amount of success they have demonstrated in the Gulf states, and I'm the financier for many of them. Even small and medium-sized entrepreneurs, my experience has been prolific. Thousands of Indian corporates are doing business with me in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, here. And we are supplementing additional advantage with our branch network. I'm seeing a bigger possibility setting up a GCC NRI bank again, one at a corporate level, a G to G, taking the sovereign funds, taking the NRI base, NRI fund, for example, let us set it up $10 billion worth of a bank again, GCC NRI bank, and 5 billion paid up to start bare minimum. And again, 50% can come from sovereign funds or G to G they can put. 50% can come from NRI investors. It's easy. Today, looking at the overall the investment opportunities in global terms and India, the Gulf Indians are predominantly they're going back home. We are Indian citizens. You know, we have over 30 million people across the globe. We know.
So can I come back to you? Just 5 minutes.
So this is an opportunity for us to relish as well. So we can create this opportunity again as a conduit into real terms between these two blocks at an individual level as well as institutional levels. If you think on these two dimensions, connectivity is visible, opportunity is a win-win business model, trade and investments, banking can play an intermediary role, professional intermediary role to augment this contribution. What is important today, India is promising, India is a future for the world economic engine. India is stable and functional and decisive. The economic policies are growing in the right direction. There are enablers for us to see through. India is going to be arguably the country of great substance and substantive compliance. Here is the value proposition which we need to utilize. With these words, I will limit myself. I'll answer the questions, whatever that comes.
Okay. The first question is for everybody. And the questions are very simple. As Dr. Seetharaman rightly said, and as Gopal pointed out, similarly as the ambassador pointed out, both countries have tremendous opportunities and complementariness. Qatar has the money. India has the need for money. India has a sustainable economic growth. For some reason, that money has not flowed to India. Why? Open to everyone. Dr. Seetharaman, would you like to begin as a banker?
Well, yes, there are mixed experience. Gopal has mentioned a few instances. Ambassador is taking stock of all this, and day one he has been focused on business. So that's a good sign.
Absolutely.
We're going to get it right. We are going to get it right, and we are going to make sure trade and investments are linked. And definitely there is a possibility if you put a clear case with the project feasibilities with an exit strategy. Now he's working on National Infrastructure Agreement. When the Prime Minister came here in May 2016, many contracts have been signed, many agreements have been signed. Now, there were execution errors, some of them, and we need to fix it. Now we are much more decisive. Now, the way we have regrouped ourselves in the last 4 or 5 years, I think it's a strength.
Okay.
And India is promising in real order. India needs to consume energy, and it's going to be from the Gulf states on account of proximity. And energy mix is changing now. Gopal has just mentioned. Energy mix is changing. For example, Qatar. Qatar is in a position to still of our energy mix. If you look at it, 6% is only LNG. We have targeted 15%. Now we need to buy more LNG. So the diversification and the average cost in terms of distribution cost per Qatar is different from the rest of the world, shale gas or the rest of the other LNG producers. So definite opportunity for us to have a win-win model, and we have to link it to project specifics and whatever the mistakes we have done in the past. There are few investments which are turned out to be good. Bharti Airtel, they put it, now Baiju, they have put it. Now we are going to I tell you, the post-pandemic, I foresee huge amount of multiple Silicon Valley is coming up in India.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and the Gulf states is looking for investments.
Place to park the money. Yes.
So we will get it right, and we have a perfect combination of the ambassador, the auditor, and the banker. We will work towards the committed missions.
We have a lovely combination. Gopal, what's your view?
Yeah, I'll be very candid on my view. I think India has not marketed well enough. That's my
excellent,
honest opinion. We can do much more in terms of marketing ourselves. Even on the hydrocarbon sector, the reforms which have happened in the last few years, previously we had NELP, now we have HELP, the new policy. Yes. So many changes have been made. Probably Qatar Petroleum or Qatar Investment Authority is not fully aware as to what are the changes which have been made just on the hydrocarbon sector, and also talked about the gas mix, refining. There's so much of opportunities on refining. 60 million tons per annum. The biggest refinery ever is going to be started in Maharashtra, where ADNOC and Aramco are participating with HPC, BPCL, and IOC. Qatar is not there. So I think we have not advertised enough. That's my candid view. But I'm sure things are changing. And as Ambassador said, and I also said, the last two years, there's been a lot of traction, a lot of investments.
Brilliant.
We have to keep the momentum on and dissemination of the right amount of information. Just before the show started, we talked about the infrastructure, national infrastructure pipeline. That's an excellent report which talks about the entire infrastructure, what's going to happen in Qatar, in India. I think these kinds of information need to be shared at the right level to get the attention of QIA. That's my take.
Brilliant. Ambassador, one question which is a corollary to this question is that does India have a FTA with Qatar? Because the flavor of the season with most countries is the FTA, is the CEPA. Those are the magic words that get countries attracted to each other. Your view, sir.
Thank you. Just to respond to both the questions first and the second, of course, on the FTA, there is currently there's no FTA.
Okay.
Between the two countries. Again, there is a whole lot of dialogue and debate about FTAs and what does it mean, and also in terms of looking at it, why Qatar is not fully into India yet. Some points have been mentioned by Dr. Seetharaman and Mr. Gopal. There are certain historic, maybe some experiences. Second, yes, maybe marketing. Third, if I look at it, is the issues is how we have grouped ourselves over the past few years in terms of learning, the learning which we have done, ease of doing business, how we have worked out. Second, how we were able to package various possibilities, looking at it, learning from various investors' requirements. Some investors think they don't want to take the market risk. They want to go into the development part of it. So you're developing kind of set of packages. Second, some just wants to get into kind of a hybrid kind of a model, and you make it available to them in that model. Monetizing assets is one kind of a thing where you come in and you want to have a safe investment, not get into the risks. Or some are looking at a more passive investment and more kind of focusing on the yields, kind of a thing. So where we have created new investment models, whether it's REIT, Invested, or NIIF, who can also help in asset management when looking at it, help you. And last is, of course, the government, which itself has now come forward to form groups, bodies and the groups to help do the hand-holding from entry to the exit, kind of it, and facilitate. And our own set of reforms, which were there, if you talk about a whole slew of reforms, which we were mentioned by Mr. Gopal and Dr. Seetharaman also, reforms, whether it is in terms of GST, the taxation reforms, whole set of taxation reforms, which have been looked at, which could have been a deterrent. The dividend tax and other, kind of incentives which have been put in place out there. These are the measures which have been developed, learning from the experiences, priorities put out. And recently, as you know, there has been a roundtable investment conference, virtual conference, where now the leadership is hearing directly. It's an outreach where the leadership, say at the level of the prime ministers, hearing directly from the CEOs of this investable surplus, the pension funds, the sovereign wealth funds, and other high net worth individuals, and hearing them directly, reaching out to them, and then making whatever regulatory changes which are required. And we did have a CEO of the Qatar Investment Authority who participated in this
discussion. Yes,
and certainly I think so. We are very upbeat and confident of things will change in coming times.
Brilliant. Okay, Gopal, there's a question directly to you, in the sense that India gets 80% of its LNG from Qatar. Qatar for India is a lifeline. Automatically, there is a great synergy in Qatar investing in degasification plants, in pipelines that we're having, these LNG pipelines, which GAIL and Petronet are together doing. Those are low-hanging fruit. And while Dr. Seetharaman's concepts of the two banks that he talked about are brilliant, they should be adopted. Why not these low-hanging fruits, sir?
Again, I feel, we need to have a delegation coming and having a, clear discussion with the QAA in terms of what are the synergies they can get, not just QAA, even Qatar Petroleum International is part of QP now. So they need to have discussion as to what kind of synergies they can expect, since 10 million tons per annum is already imported by India in terms of LNG. So all this gas infrastructure, which Excellency Saad Al-Kabi attended last month's event, the India Energy Forum. He in fact talked about the gas infrastructure. So this is the time where it's already fresh in his mind. We need to target this gas infrastructure, having investments from Qatar in pipelines. All these things are definitely possible. We need to, I think, as Excellency said, there is a lot of positive vibes now. We need to keep the momentum going in marketing India in the right way. And as I said, with so much of investments expected in the gas sector, and Qatar should have its share as well on that.
Okay, I don't want to ask. I want to ask many questions, but I'll restrain myself because I know there are people who have questions and could ask Dr. Vanitha Rane to ask these questions on behalf of the audience.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all the panelists. I think most of the questions are answered. I have very few important points to be raised by the audience, and we can have a thought-provoking session again. To all of y'all, where India badly needs a national competition policy, do you feel that the world is ready now for long-term investments in India?
Open to all of you.
Yes, we can start with Deepak, sir.
No, let's start with the banker, because the banker deals with investments directly.
Okay.
Absolutely, it's a valid question. See, today, that's why I said the economic engine of the world is truly recognized as India.
Yes.
There are enough forecasts given. The demographic dividend plus the kind of, functional democracy has got a price. That's the only stumbling here and there. Otherwise, there are enough reasons to believe it is a country of great substance, decisive government, underlying, growth prospects spelled out. Sectors of markets have been liberalized. We have 1.5 billion telecom users, 1 billion internet users, 100 smart cities, as I said, 126 airport. Where you will get this kind of scale? Where to invest? People are struggling. You have to understand, trillions of dollars today are being pumped in negative interest.
They need a parking place.
It is. So here is one country where the model is set today, individual becoming institutions. Mind you, with all these changing dynamics in terms of social media tools, you have to empower every common man. That's what is happening around the rest of the world. Nobody can suppress anyone. So people power, that's visibly showcased in India. It's a very large democracy, and our institutions have given enough momentum for truth in action. The governance is, and the transparency, financial inclusion is growing. So people are watching. You take World Bank, you take IMF. The kind of brand equity which I am seeing it, I cut across the globe, leave alone this pandemic, otherwise many a times in a year. I see India is fully trusted and the prospects are visibly known in real order. So our future is very bright for young Indians. Please be rest assured. This century belongs to India.
Brilliant. Ambassador, you are the emissary from India.
Certainly, I think what Dr. Seetharaman said outlined the fundamentals, which means that the reasons why there is a global trust. And the evidence, if one has to say, even during these pandemic months, you see the inflow commitments of investments which have come into India globally, whether it's Google, whether it's Apple, Amazon, we spoke about Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, Walmart, even QIA, Blackstone, KKR, and others. If you look at it, billions of dollars worth of investments, commitments which have been there, that shows in itself the global trust reposed. and the fundamentals which do exist, as Dr. Seetharaman put out, that, if we talk about democracy, demography, decisive government, demand, it's all there. So I think,
Yes.
so I remain very positive and upbeat, as I said.
Brilliant. Vanita, can we have the next question? We'll take 2 more questions.
Yeah, but sir, just wanted to add over here, are we embracing in the same manner with respect to the startups? Because if startups need to have an access to Qatar funds, so how are we looking at the same?
In fact, I just mentioned one thing. The ideas that Dr. Seetharaman gave of 2 banks which are focused on India would be a great idea, but it's open to others.
See, startup, I tell you, I have the experience. I have signed with the SME Chamber of India in 2011. Now we are funding. I don't have any bad books. Only Gopal testify. He's my signing auditor, as I mentioned again. I had one corporate derail me. Otherwise, startup has not failed in India. In my experience, if you give, you do proper due diligence, you have, it's a world largest congregation to start up today. Over 20,000 new ventures are getting floated. As on date, they're all experimented. Venture capitalists are hungry about it. Mezzanine financing is flowing. Now, with all this digital transformation, which country can support this kind of mission? We should be the global processing center today. And not only in pharmaceuticals, we can leverage on it. We have the talented technicians today. And as I said, like Tidal Park, you have every state can replicate a Silicon Valley today. You don't need to go to San Francisco. You have the capacity to replicate this because you are no more location centric, you are information centric. You have the skill base. The world is becoming from circular to flat. And you have to, wage will get realigned. That's a different issue. But huge opportunity in terms of reskilling, upskilling, and then channelizing in India the opportunity for the world at large as a center for reorganization.
Brilliant.
Yes, I think I would like to concur with Sita in terms of the unicorns of the world. Everything is in India now. All the startups where you have tremendous opportunity. If you talk about attracting QIA in that direction, QIA recently or probably last year appointed Bank of America to look at their portfolio of how they can get into technology space more. They've done a complete reallocation of their portfolio to move towards digital space. So I think this is the time where we can reach out to QIA as well for supporting these unicorns. Atmanirbhar is one aspect of it, but that itself is a great one. $470 billion attraction in 4 key sectors. It's going to be doing wonders. But in terms of the startups, definitely, yes. Ministry of Transportation and Communication in Qatar has got a digital incubation center through which they are kind of supporting all these startups. I think they need to be taken towards India's unicorns so that we can get a share from Qatar as well on unicorns.
Just to add, Mr. Bhaskar, you take the top 10 companies. I read the report a couple of weeks before. Your blockchain, Chaintop is already there. And they need thousands and thousands of young entrepreneurs to create a cluster. You have Ericsson, machine learning is already there. Our friend Sundar Pichai, Google, already is investing now. We have seen his commitment to the Prime Minister. Now, when it comes to telecom, Samsung is already there. Big data, IBM is already there. The list goes on. You look at every company has replicated their model because they know what it means to, in terms of immigration policy, things are changing in the rest of the world. We have the internal resources. No more you are location centric. Tap it. That's it. You have create a Silicon Valley and you don't need to go anywhere. Yes. And you have employment opportunity, enormous amount of entrepreneurship we can create. This is in front of us. The opportunity is coming. It's not far.
Yes. Ambassador, are we marketing startups in your territory?
I think that's a very timely and very important point. Certainly, as was said by my colleagues, India is the third largest, as we know, ecosystem of the startups.
Yes.
It's almost like you have 2 to 3 tech startups coming up in India every day.
Yes.
And if you look at it, we spoke about unicorns. There have been now 31 unicorn startups have assumed the unicorn status in India.
Yes.
And it's a strong incubation which is happening in India.
Yes.
We have been discussing here, in the last few weeks, I had the chance to interact with my interlocutors, including in the business side, the Qatar financial centers and the business centers. So they are all looking at that. They do have that focus. And as Dr. Seetharaman mentioned, and Dr. Mr. Gopal do, they have to have funds which they have created, which is targeting the startups. One of their effort is to invest in how they can look at investing into a startup and bringing it to Qatar too, because that's also a kind of an focus area. So we are, I have come across a group of startup tech angels,
Yes.
Doha Tech Angels. They are putting together effort to target and how the so-called venture capital can be looked at, and then they can move to Qatar.
Relocate to Qatar, yes.
So I think there is a synergy, complementarities, and I'm confident that we will see positive move in the startup sector too.
Someone set it up here. I will give you the debt.
One second. Let's take one more question so that I don't make the audience wait too long. Yes, sir.
I think a lot of attendees over here who are going to be our prospective mass media students who are going to pursue their higher studies. This is a question from them. Sir, why can't we have some cultural exchange program where student cultural exchange programs can be taken up, where we can have Indian and Qatari student exchange taking place? So how do you see this? Can we have any kind of such expectations? Are they rational enough? Can we expect, sociologically speaking, it will be good for us as well?
In that connection, can I make one more point? Since
Yes.
you talk media, Qatar is a center of one of the biggest media houses in that part of the globe. Now, it should be promoting more media courses, more media interaction, more media opportunities. Open to 3. We'll take this as the last question.
Maybe I will start here first.
Yes.
I think it's a very important point of student exchange, education sector cooperation, promoting cultural exchange. As you may know, last year, 2019, was celebrated as an year of India in Qatar, cultural year, and a very successful year, with number of activities. And I was not here. My, the team here, along with the community, they all organized it very successfully, and I still feel the kind of vibrancy which it had generated. The ripple effects are still there, and I still hear positive things. So I think that provides a foundation to build upon. Education exchanges again remains our focus. Certainly, here in Qatar you have Qatar Foundation.
Yes.
Which is a very key foundation, which as part of the vision, the National Vision 2030, to develop into a knowledge-based economy, a lot of focus. They have developed a great education city here in Qatar,
Excellent.
which houses renowned education institutions globally, which has been brought into Qatar. We are in discussion with many of the education institutions, including with the Qatar Foundation, to look at how we can promote closer interaction between the education institutions in Qatar and in India, including faculty and student exchanges. So we have to, we are in the process of building those bridges. Again, it's all being few weeks here. I always keep saying I remain confident, and hopefully when we meet next, we have something positive and concrete to share with you that this is a progress which we have made in this.
Brilliant. Dr. Seetharaman, you were saying something when I interrupted that question.
What I was telling, see, The opportunity is here. You have a free zone here. You have
Yes.
a straightforward. Any entrepreneur should use the Gulf as a gateway and globalize it. And you
Yes.
have flat tax. Tax holidays are there if you're setting up in the free zones. Concessional interest has been given by the bankers. It's a program, joint risk participation with the Apex bank called Qatar Development Bank. It's very concessional in terms of pricing. Cost of capital is cheaper. You work with them. If the know-how is very much clear, technology companies or otherwise, entrepreneurs should come here. This is what we are doing. Some of them we have tried through SME Chamber. I welcome more and more SMEs to come to Qatar, set it up in the free zone. There are 3 free zones. They are allocated over 4 billion now. And the equity will come from the government. Debt will come from the banks like us. So, and I'm guaranteed. Partially, 87% has been guaranteed to me. The debt has been guaranteed by the government. So why should I not take measurable risk? So it's a win-win model. That's why I call upon all the SMEs in India, look at Qatar as a destination and globalize it. You can only win if you properly, sketch it.
Just on the point on the cultural exchange, which the question came up, to add to Ambassador's point, as he said, 42 events were held last year, India-Qatar Cultural Year, across all facets of India's culture, whether it's music, dance, plays, or artists. There were a group of 25 artists, Qatari artists, spent 1 month in India. Top-notch artists. They spent 1 month in India, knowing everything about India. Then we had a show here about their experiences. So it's going on. Even on education front, just like Dubai Education City has got Manipal University and BITS. The Qatar Foundation had talked about IIT, bringing an IIT here, or probably ISB, Indian School of Business. I think these are areas where probably we need to again engage in a discussion with Q of Qatar Foundation to bring in a campus for ISB or IIT, the institutions of this caliber. I think that's possible.
Excellent. And as the audit as a final certification, we will go by your word. But thank you very much. All the 3 panelists came out with excellent ideas. And the ambassador talked about how relationships could get stronger. Dr. Seetharaman talked about some brilliant concepts about how to finance projects. The setting of those 2 banks was just a marvelous idea. I think they should be pursued. The government of India and the government of Qatar could work together on this. And of course, you had the auditor with his knowledge of petrochemicals, with his knowledge of business, with his knowledge of certifying, signing off projects that could be viable and danger zones. The 3 of you provided such a wonderful range of ideas. Thank you very much. I'm overwhelmed. And before I close this program, could I ask Vanita Rane to give a vote to close up the session?
Thank you so much, sir. I think all the panelists have really done a meticulous observation throughout. And with their expertise, I think we will definitely have a win-win proposition for India and Qatar both together. And we all on a common platform are definitely going to have more and more of value-based chains, as sir was talking about value chains, apart from pharma as well. And most importantly, we may build more and more of political, trading and finance-related ties in future. Thank you so much for having us. And once again, thank you very much. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you to the audience. We have more than 1,000 people already here listening to you all. And you have been compelling. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and best wishes on the Diwali. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, happy Diwali to you. A festive greeting.
Same here. Happy Diwali to all of you.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.